Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second webinar of Bow and Arrow TED Talk series. My name is Hani, and I will be the host of today's webinar. So this October webinar is co-hosted by Kyanon Digital, a one-stop digital service house, Vietnam Datathon, a data hackathon organizer for Vietnamese students, and an expert partner from Duc Thang University. So this webinar is conducted in English as we have a pleasure of welcoming our clients from abroad. And we are thrilled to have them here with us today to share valuable insights. Today we are excited to present a truly insightful discussion on a topic that I think is shaping the future of technology. So this is generative AI. And the title of today's session is Unlocking Potential, Addressing Barriers in Generative AI. So now I'm honored to introduce with all of you two experts who will be our speakers of today and gonna share with us some valuable insights. Our first speaker is Dr. Pham Van Huy. He is the Dean of IT Faculty from Duc Thang University. So he will present about the introduction of generative AI. And after that, the next session is about 10 key pain points that the businesses face when implementing generative AI. And this will be presented by Mr. David Lapetina. So he is the Vice President of Engineering and Technology from Kyanon Digital. So during the webinar, if you have any questions, so you can comment directly in the Q&A box, and we will have the Q&A session later to address all of your questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, so it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Pham Van Huy. So again, he is the Dean of Faculty of Information Technology from Duc Thang University, and this is a leading expert in the field of AI. So today, Dr. Huy will present with us some introduction of generative AI. So please join me to welcome Dr. Huy.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So my name is Huy. I'm a lecturer and researcher in the field of AI, specializing in computer vision at Duc Thang University. It is an honor for me to join the program today as a technical speaker for a very interesting topic, and you might be very interested in generative AI. You may have been using AI tools to do every task, like content creation, product design, language translation, text and image generation, or some tasks of scientists like new drug development, fraud detection. This day can be performed conveniently and easily through the interfaces from the tools such as ChatGPT, DALL-E, or Gemini. So you may ask for how can these tools generate such content and what are the algorithms behind them? So today I will introduce to you some basic models of Gen AI with some of the most basic knowledge so that you can understand to use these tools in a better way. So in general speaking, as it's a description name, it is a type of generative AI is a type of artificial intelligence that can create or produce different type of contents, including text, images, videos, or audio clips. So it is actually basically it is an AI tool. So I will explain from the AI. So AI is a discipline that to develop theory or practice a system to perform intelligent tasks, mimic the human intelligence, some tasks like classification, detection, or prediction. Especially general AI refer to the AI that can generate new content like audio, video, text, images with the tool like ChatGPT, a generative language model, or the images like Don-E in OpenAI. So how does generative AI work? How can generative AI model can create new content? So I will explain more with you today. So the general mechanism of generative AI is to create content based on what it has learned from the existing content. The process of learning from existing content is called training, and the result is a statistical model. So it means that the model learned the patterns or the relationship, the correlation, or the intrinsic rules inside the data. So if we have the model given a prompt, Gen AI uses the model to predict what an expected response might be, and this is to generate a new content. So for example, you might have familiar with ChatGPT. It is a generative language model. It can learn about patterns in the language through the training data. Then, given some text, they can predict what comes next. Is it right? And then, in a similar way, generative image models, it can produce new images using techniques like GIN diffusion. Then, giving a prompt or related imagery, they can transform random noise into images or generate images from prompts. So we have different applications of generative AI based on the data of the input and the output. If the input is image, the output is text, we have some applications like image captioning, I mean, to generate caption from the image content, or visual question answering, image search. If the input is image and the output is image, we have some applications of super resolution, image completion, even though the animation from the video. So can you guess if the input is text and the output is text, what kind of applications? You can see here, it's some application like translation, summarization, I mean automatic summarization, question answering, grammar correction, or image generation, video generation, text to speech. So we have a different type of application based on the input and the output content. So what are the algorithms behind these Gen AI? Let's start with a very simple how AI work, right? I will explain how I work here. For example, the simple task of classification. Given an image, could you answer the question? Is this a picture of a cat? You as human, you can easily answer the question because you have knowledge of how the cat is. But for computer, we have to program, and it is not easy. So the simple way is you may list out the rules. How to recognize as a cat? Maybe it is a type of animal. It has 4 legs, 2 ears, and some others to be recognized as a cat. So you have to give the rules. It means this is the traditional programming, rule-based approach. So it has a big limitation that because in real world the cat has a varieties of appearance. So how can we improve? How can we improve the model here? So a better approach is to use machine learning. Machine learning. This means given input a cat, we can go through a machine learning model, and when it can answer the question, this is a cat or not. Using not the rule only, but the data, using the data to train this machine learning model. So machine learning gives the computer the ability to learn without explicit programming. So with the wave of neural networks and big data availability since 2012, the task of classification can be better addressed by machine learning model. It can predict any new image of a cat with the training data. So we have to train the model with the data. The data we need some images of cats and non-cat, and also we get a result is a model, and given the new data, can answer the question, it's a cat or not. So could we improve more about this application? We expect more of that. We have a book to describing a diversity of cats. We expect that we give the knowledge to our system. It can learn from that. So that's the way we can improve here of generative AI. So the heart of artificial intelligence, you know what? It is we call it artificial neural networks. Um, so artificial neural networks are a subset of machine learning, and this is the heart of deep learning. A neural network is a model inspired by the structure and function of biological neural networks of animal brains. It includes an internet-connected group of nodes inspired by a simplification of neuron in a brain. So you can look at this. It consists of nodes and the connections between the nodes. And so how can we improve the machine learning model? Actually, the machine learning model can work well with the help of a feature extraction. It is the task of enrich the information from the input before feeding to the ANN. So the feature extraction here needs the human intervention. You can better remove the human intervention in the task of feature extraction by propose a new approach we call deep learning. You can look at this is a structure of CNN. It is an improved version of ANN that including the feature extraction from the layers, from the first layer, and then in the last layer, we have another ANN for the classification task. So this is the model of a CNN, a deep learning approach. So you can see that I have explained from the AI, and then we improve into machine learning, and then we improve to use a deep learning. Deep learning is the subset of machine learning methods based on ANN, for example, CNN. And generative AI is a type of ANN that generate data that is similar to the data it have trained on. So generative AI maybe is a set of deep learning. So how to train a model? How to train a model? in case of the example, cat or not cat, given the output, given the expected output, and we can compare with the predict output to get the error, and then we use the error to update our model. So this kind of update we call a supervised learning. So in case of ANN, how can we update? We after getting the output, we will compare with the expected value, and then we use a mechanism we call backpropagation to correct the weight between the node from the output to the input way. We call backpropagation. So to control the backpropagation, we use the loss function. This is a function of error. We want to reduce the error, so we iteratively reduce the error by iteratively update the weight of the neural network. So we understand how to build a machine learning model using the training code and the label data. This kind of way we call supervised learning. It is suitable for the task of prediction, classification, or clustering. But it is a discriminative model for generative modeling. We just need a model, and we can generate the new sample. So we have a different kind of model. You can see here a predictive machine learning model and generative AI model. The predictive machine learning model learns the relationship between the data and label. Then we use the label to update the model. But for generative AI model, it can learn the patterns in unstructured content to create new content. Could we recognize which is a general AI or discriminative AI? We can basically look at the output. If the output of a system is a number, a discrete, a class, or probability, maybe it's not Gen AI. But if the output is a natural language, image, or it is a Gen AI model. So in 2014, we have a famous model by Goodfellow. We call the GAN, the GAN models. This is maybe a very common generative AI models. I just explain a little bit here. For generative model, we need a model to generate new sample. The input usually the random vector or some input of data. So you have now two different kind of model: generator model, a model to generate content, and a discriminator model to classify something. So you can see we can use the discriminative model to train a generator model. In this way, you can look at the model here. The output of the generator will be fed into discriminative model to be classified, is it good or not? And then we use the result to update the generator model. This is the way how you can work. You can think of a similar like this. A generator like a bad guy who wants to make fake money. For a discriminator, like a police, he has responsible for recognizing the fake money or real money. So the bad guy wants to make the fake money as look like the real money as possible, but the police want to recognize more precisely the real and the fake one. So these are two components of a GAN. You can see this, a generative network and a discriminative network together in one model. This is a GAN model. We want to create a generative model. For example, in the defect here, you can use the generator to create the face, and the discriminator can classify the real face and the generated face look similar, how much similar they are, and we use the result to update the generator. So we can similarly as the INN, we can use the output from the discriminator and generator to update both the discriminator or the generator based on the error. So maybe you can have more complex GAN model that not the input not only random vector but additional information like a condition or DC again, something like that. Or the other kind of descriptive model. So what is generator? A generator is like an INN, like this, with different of layers, explained before, so that we can train a generator to create a new content. Maybe we have a more complex structure of generator. So I just explained you about somehow supervised learning and supervised learning. So in case of GAN, we don't need the label. So it is belongs to the supervised learning. Maybe another famous structure in Gen AI is we call autoencoder, including the encoder and decoder to, for example, in the application of reduce the noise or super resolution, like that. So we call this is a self-supervised because we can use the input as the output, and to make a compressed information in the middle, we call the bottleneck. And in the field of large language model, you have GBT. GBT stands for Generative Retrained Transformer Model. It can create sentences, the text, based on the prompt. We have that use a mechanism we call attention. So we can apply the transformer, the vision the transformer into computer vision. We call vision transformer. With the mechanism of attention, we can we can solve the task of computer vision better than even though somehow better than CNN. And also these days are very famous in computer vision for Gen AI model. We call the diffusion. This means we can create the image from noise. So we have to train the computer, how the noise is by adding noise to the training data, and then we can learn. The computer can learn how to create the image from noise. We call the diffusion model. So maybe I hope you can somehow understand how can the model can create the content, so you can find out more information between the GAN versus transformer, GAN versus autoencoder, GAN versus diffusion. So thank you for your listening. I see you in the next presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pham Van Huy, for your valuable presentation. So, so next session, allow me to welcome our next speaker, Mr. David Lapetina. He is currently the Vice President of Engineering and Technology of Kyanon Digital. So today he will bring us to the 10 key pain point when every business they implement the Gen AI in reality, and also the solution to overcome these barriers. So welcome, Mr. David.
Thank you. So thank you, Dr. Huy, for your presentation. And yes, today I would like to discuss about the pain point of Gen AI, because as you know, we have a lot of marketing around Gen AI. A lot of people are trying to sell you Gen AI as much as they can. But you need to understand that, like any new technology, you might encounter some difficulties when you want to implement Gen AI solution. One of the first difficulty is, as you know, most of the time when you want to generate text, generate audio, generate images, you have to start with what we call a prompt. And what is a prompt? It's you describe what you want to the Gen AI engine or model. The difficulty is, as you know, and it's particularly true between people from different culture, language is ambiguous. It means the same words can have different meaning depending on the context. And this context is not only textual based. So if we speak about, for instance, LLM, which are a large language model, since they learn only based on text, the issue is when you speak, for instance, I can say the same sentence, smiling or not, and it will change all the meaning of my sentence. And for sure, in an LLM, this ambiguity is difficult for them to understand. So it means as soon as you want to do, for instance, a chatbot, your chatbot will have issue to understand if the people are joking, serious, etc. And for sure, it's very difficult. So today, the only way to avoid this is to build what we call high quality prompt. But it means it's no more natural language, because a natural language, what is it? It's when I can speak exactly like I'm speaking with you. It means me as a human, I need to know how my LLM or my Gen AI for images is working to be sure that I can achieve what I want. And for sure, we have a lot of progress ongoing regarding this, what we call human to machine interface, but we still need to improve a lot because of this ambiguity of language. Another difficulty for LLM and for Gen AI also, for instance, for image and for audio, it's what we can say is a lack of understanding of the world. I will give you one example. Like Dr. Huy showed us, we can train an AI to recognize a cat based on some images. But you as a kid, if you take a cat, what do? You look at the cat, but you can manipulate the cat. You can touch the cat. You can smell the cat. And you can look at the cat according to different angles, from front face, behind, from the side. So you can imagine that if you want to achieve the same result for an AI, when you want to train them based on some images to after generate an image of the cat, you need what we call a corpus, a volume of data that is huge. One proof of this difficulty is, I don't know if you remember, but when we started to have Gen AI for images, it was very difficult for them to be able to generate a hand. Why? Because often on picture, the hands are hidden. So the AI could not learn how to draw, let's say to draw or to generate a hand of a human being that is perfect. So of course, they were able to fix this issue, but you need to understand that the more precise you want to be in your generation and the more data set you need, and also the more different data set you need. So you need textual based data set, you need audio, you need video, etc. And it's exactly why I put this quote from Richard Feynman. Richard Feynman was a Nobel Prize in physics. And it's exactly what he means. He means you can know a bird in the name of the bird in all the language of the world, but you don't know how he lives, where he lives, how he reproduces, how many eggs he can lay. So you just learn the name of the bird. And for sure, when you want to train an AI to do Gen AI, you need to think about this limitation because it's very difficult for an AI to understand the world as us human beings we do. So these two difficulties leads to one big issue, which is the cost. I put you one article that explains that basically OpenAI, they will lose $14 billion by 2026, which means that, of course, their model is state of the art, is one of the best, but you imagine that they are losing $14 billion to be able to train such a model. So you can understand the cost it requires when you want to develop your own Gen AI model. So that's why we can see more and more some people who decide to build what we call SLM, so a more specific language model, to say, okay, I do not need a generic Gen AI model, but I need a very specific model that will be able to deliver what I need for few use case and not generic use case. But for sure, as soon as you want to develop a new model that can cover a wide range of use cases, you need to think about the cost. One other quite, I can say, big issue of Gen AI is what we call performance variance. You can ask twice the same question to Gen AI, whether it produces audio or it will produce text or it will produce images or video, you will have 2 times different answer. So, of course, for instance, when with the model that Dr. Huy mentioned, diffusion model, you can fix this because you have some number that are generated, and if you input this kind of, we call this a random seed into the engine, you are sure you will have the same result. But you imagine that it's very difficult. You cannot predict in advance what the result will be. So it means that in some cases, it can be very difficult because if you cannot predict the result, but it can put your business at risk. Imagine you want to use Gen AI to write a contract, a business, a legal contract. If you cannot make sure that the result will follow some criteria, maybe the contract will be illegal and it will put you at risk. So once again, in terms of solution, yes, we can use good prompt, better prompt to improve the situation. Also, we can use, as I mentioned before, what we will call specific models to address one use case. But in general, you need to be very careful. I'm thinking just about the fact that if you want to use, for instance, ChatGPT to do a chatbot for yourself, you need to think about this because you might have unexpected result. One other difficult pain point. So let's continue on this example. You want to use Gen AI to produce a contract, a legal agreement between 2 parties. And imagine you want to automate the process. Gen AI generates the contract, sends the contract, and everything is signed. One of the key points is how you can explain what the AI has written in your contract. And in particular, in banking, insurance, as soon as we speak about BFSI, so finance, you need to be able to explain everything that you write. why did you put this article? Why did you put these figures? Why you put this percentage, this number, etc. You need to be able to explain from a legal point of view and justify why the contract is like this. And with Gen AI, as I mentioned, you cannot predict the result. So in terms of explainability, it can be difficult. And sometimes it can create some issues. So that's why I put you one article where someone from Google Cloud explains that, yes, for instance, in finance, they are building and using a lot of Gen AI, for instance, to build financial report, but we need someone to check that the financial report is accurate. Because imagine if you generate a financial report with fake data, it can have a lot of very bad consequences for your business. So that's why today we still need human expertise. So of course, some other researchers are working on this field to be able to have what we call explainable AI. And also we can develop some AI to validate the output of another AI. So of course, everyone is well informed of this issue in the research domain, but often some customer, let's say some business user, forget about this point. So if you want to implement some Gen AI in your company, always think about this. Do you need, from a legal point of view, to be able to explain or not? Is it mandatory for you to explain or not the output of the engine? So another topic where we have to be very careful, I put you one example that happened. So Slack, I guess everyone know what is Slack. So it's a messaging, instant messaging service, mostly used by company, by businesses. And they had a big security issue because they decided to start to use some chatbot capabilities. And it was possible to ask and to get private content from private channels and private discussion, even if normally you should not have access to this information. So one big issue that we see more and more, and in particular with chatbot, but we can see it also with images, is the fact that you cannot ensure that your Gen AI model will not disclose some data that have been used to train this model. So in other words, imagine you are a finance business and you want to make some predictive model to predict the trend. And so you want to use a Gen AI to say, okay, I want to build a Gen AI model that will predict the future in terms of finance. You will input your past data into the model to train this model, and maybe you don't want to disclose this data. As of today, we cannot guarantee this. So as of today, it will be possible for someone, as soon as they can access to your model, to be able to see the past data, even if at first you did not want to disclose it. So it means that as soon as you want to train a model on your own data, you need to think if you are willing to accept the risk that people will be able to access to this data. It's very difficult as of today to ensure the security of the model. Another topic that is quite important, it's scalability. The more you want to train your model, often we will discover that you need a good compromise. You need to balance between the speed of the model, the volume of the data, the accuracy of the output, and it's always a balance. So basically, the more data you have to train, of course, your model will be amazing. But first, maybe it will take 1, 2 months, 3 months to train this model. But also in terms of output, maybe it will be much slower. So, of course, you can scale. But for instance, if you follow Mark Zuckerberg, as you know, Meta company is developing a lot of open source model that they release, like Llama 2, Llama 3, etc. And in an interview, I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, what he explained is they still don't know how we can scale an LLM. Basically, the main question is we still don't know if when we put more CPU, more GPU, more resources, we don't know if it will scale like this or if at one point it will stop to scale. We still don't know. So it means even in this domain of scalability of a model, we still have some question because we don't know that how much a model can scale, if it's linear or if at one point it will start to reach a peak and after you cannot improve even if we put more power. So it's a difficult situation. So once again, this question is mostly when you want to develop a generic model. As soon as you want to develop a more specific model, this scalability is less an issue. But one other topic I want to mention is anyway, to be able to scale, you will need good quality data. And this good quality data is very difficult to have. And that's why you can see I put also one article where Deloitte did a recent survey. And in this survey, they show that also one limitation, in addition to the cost that I mentioned, is it's very difficult to find good data to train model. And these points start to be an issue because we don't have enough data to really reach the next level. So one point, I don't know if you follow the news, but recently we have a big issue in US because a kid was chatting with a bot, and after chatting with the bot, the kid committed suicide. So basically, he killed himself. So we still don't know if it's because of the bot, but for sure, some people and some parents start to be worried about chatbot because you can see more and more platforms on internet where a teenager can start to chat with a bot, and you can say, for instance, I want the bot to be, I don't know, a famous actor. And so the bot will start to speak. And also, since we got Gen AI for audio, we can reproduce the voice. Since we got Gen AI for video, we can produce also the image of this actor. So you can start now to have some Gen AI almost in real time and even in real time that can mimic the voice, the image, the way of speaking of anyone. And it starts to create some ethical consideration because one scammer can use it. So it means, for instance, if you start to publish video of you on Facebook, on TikTok, someone can make a clone of you thanks to Gen AI. And after they can use it to call someone that you know and pretend that they are you. So we can see more and more ethical consideration regarding Gen AI that create some trouble, and soon we will have to address it. So one other topic related to what we discussed in terms of data quality, it's what we call maintenance and update. So let's come back to my example of finance data. Imagine, so you want to do predictive data thanks to Gen AI. It's a very nice use case and it works pretty well. The question is how you can take into consideration the new data that you have from your business. So let's imagine that to train your model, you need, let's say, 1 week of data. So it takes 1 week, not 1 week of data, but 1 week of processing to train your model. It means that in terms of update, your model will always be 1 week late compared to the data that you have. You can see this, for instance, with ChatGPT. If you ask the question to ChatGPT, ChatGPT will tell you that their data are the last update of this data is from 1 year ago. I believe it was end of 2023. So for instance, if you ask who won the last NBA championship, you will not have the answer because the answer is not in the data. So here it's also related to the cost and scalability. It means if you really want to build an up-to-date model with the real data, the last up-to-date data that you have, you will need scalability, but also you will need what we call data governance because you need to be sure that the process to handle and manage your data are a perfect fit with the strategy that you have regarding Gen AI. So it means it's not only a technical issue, it's also organizational issue because it means you need to make sure that the way you organize, manage your data is a perfect fit for what you want to achieve in terms of Gen AI strategy. So last pain point, and I believe to me it's one I will say the main difficulty today, and it's strongly related to ethical considerations that I mentioned before. It's regulatory compliance. As you know, in Europe, Europe is pretty conservative in terms of innovation. So it means that, for instance, because of ethical consideration, they tend to put regulation like that and strong regulation. So a consequence of this is, for instance, OpenAI voice mode is not available in Europe. The latest Llama open source model, so they are open source, but in the license, they say you cannot use it in Europe. Why? Because of the regulation of Europe. And Apple AI, same, they have an issue. They need to remove some feature because they want to be compliant with European regulation. And this, it starts to create a lot of issue because you can imagine in a world where we can access to any service from anywhere, but in the end, you need to start to limit the services you want to offer to your customer based on where they are located. So it means you need to customize your business strategy and deployment for each zone, each geographic zone where you want to deploy your solution. So we have covered 10 pain points. Of course, we can have more, we can have less. It depends on where you are. And it's exactly this. If you are interested in doing some Gen AI, the first thing to do is to assess your Gen AI readiness. So what is it to assess your Gen AI readiness? It's to assess first, what do you want to do? Why do you need Gen AI? Second topic, it's why, what is the quality of your data, where you will get the data to train your model. Do you want to build your own model, or do you want to take an open source model, or let's say a closed model, and you want to what we call fine tune it based on your data? In terms of organization, as I mentioned, do you have some clear data governance process, clear data governance organization to make sure that your Gen AI readiness is at the best, to make sure that when you want to deploy, you will not have any big surprise. And of course, the second topic, after you assess your readiness, is always to start to implement a POC not go directly into the full production and let's say full development of a production-ready solution, but really start with a POC. As I mentioned, to ensure first safety, privacy, security, compliance to the regulation, etc. So always two steps when you want to start with Gen AI. First, assess yourself. Am I ready to start a Gen AI initiative, yes or no? If not, then you have some work to do before. Then start with a small POC and then scale up. So now we can have a Q&A. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, David, for your valuable sharing. So especially, I think it's quite helpful for everyone who want to start to do the business in the Gen AI. So I think that the participants, they have a lot of questions for David and Dr. Huy. So I would like to introduce David to be the Q&A moderator. So he will have to facilitate for the Q&A session.
Yes. So we have a first question regarding chatbot and LLM. Is large language model always the best answer when you want to build chatbot? And for this, I want to say the answer is no, because we can see that before LLM, we had already some chatbot using NLP, so another AI, let's say, principle. And you can still do a chatbot with NLP. Why people wanted to move from chatbot with NLP to chatbot with LLM? It's because when you write a chatbot with NLP, the conversation between you and the chatbot is driven. Basically, it will always follow a scenario. When you are doing a chatbot with LLM, then the conversation is more natural and let's say more open. But as I mentioned, it's more open, but also with some risk. The risk is you are not sure what the chatbot will answer. And in some case, it can answer some stuff that is not compliant with what you want to do. And after, it can create some issue. So in short, the answer is no, you can still build a chatbot with NLP, and it's still working very well. So yes. So I see another question. So provide a use case for Gen AI in financial service. So Gen AI in financial service, as I mentioned, can be used, for instance, to generate for predictive AI. It means, for instance, you can use Gen AI to predict the success of a product. So it means after you can do some simulation and you can optimize thanks to Gen AI, because imagine you can use Gen AI to generate the output data of such simulation. Yes. Another use case of Gen AI in financial service, since, for instance, in particular for LLM, you can see this a lot. It's to analyze quickly the data of a huge corpus of information. So imagine you are doing some merge and acquisition. We can see some consulting company, they start to do this. So when you are doing merge and acquisition, you need to read a lot of document. And after, you need to summarize all this information, and you need to be able to extract some specific information that maybe are illegal or sensitive. You need to identify the risk of all this corpus of data. And for this, for instance, LLM are perfect because not only they can understand very well a corpus of documentation, so a huge number of documents, but also they can summarize and output really the information that you need. So Gen AI is widely used in finance, in particular when they are doing audit. because in this case, you can read a lot of information very fast. And after, you can summarize and extract the key information that you need. So one more question I see, how to improve product support experience. So here I love this topic because I myself manage a support team. So in terms of product support experience, Gen AI can be used for two things. So first, to have a clear chatbot. So here you can imagine to have a chatbot to discuss with the customer, where the customer can ask for help. But the chatbot also, I don't know if you saw this, but in the latest improvement of LLM model, now you can do what we call function call. So it means that the LLM can also start to call some external function. So it means that, for instance, in the case of product support, you could imagine that your chatbot discuss with the customer and automatically create a ticket to activate the support team to investigate the issue. And one last case, for instance, myself, I have sometimes to debug. I use Gen AI and LLM, as I mentioned in the case of financial service. LLM are very good to understand text. So, for instance, when you have a bug, you can take a log file. So, you know, it's a file where you got all the logs and you can see the issue. You can inject this in your chatbot and it will analyze all this stack and it will give you usually a clear answer on what is the root cause of the issue. So for sure, AI in terms of product support is amazing and very helpful. So here, yes, Dr. Huy, if you can answer to the last question regarding how to validate the correctness of Gen AI output.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Actually, it depends on the output content. For example, in the case of classification, you can use the matrix like precision, recall, F1 score, something like that. It is in the terms of prediction. But in case of Gen AI, or in case of ChatGPT or LM, maybe we have a different kind of matrix. Or even though in the field of computer vision, like a super resolution, we have a different kind of matrix to compare to evaluate the output, not only the cosine similarity, precision, maybe something like that. You can find out more the research of the output you want to research. Thank you. How about the other questions that I mentioned here?
Yeah, please, if you can answer also this question, how to eliminate the issue of leaking data.
What would be the next challenges that we need to tackle in terms of Gen AI models? In my opinion, I think the first one, as a researcher, how to improve the model accuracy and quality, and how to control the content created in terms of privacy, in terms of ethics. Yeah, just my opinion. Another question is how Gen AI for audio can useful for me. Maybe you can ask for some interesting music. The system can create some kind of music you haven't listened before, for example, something like that. Yeah, thank you for your questions.
Yeah, for Gen AI for audio, we can also add some very interesting use case in terms of so for people who cannot see. This way they can access to some content. I don't know if you know, but there is a huge industry for movies where people describe what is going on in the movie for people who cannot see. So you can imagine, thanks to Gen AI for audio output, we could automate this. So it means we can make accessible more content to more people. One last question before we close this topic. It's in case of information leak when we use Gen AI. So usually what we do when we want to avoid some leak, you have to put some extra filter where you analyze the content of the answer and you check some very sensitive word. But for sure, it's never perfect. So even if you put some filter after the output of the LLM, you still have some risk that this filter is not accurate 100%. So it's still a difficulty. So what people do usually is, in particular in terms of finance, they will do what we call data anonymization, meaning that they will hide the sensitive data that are not, let's say, useful to train the AI, or let's say that are not critical, because all data is useful, otherwise you don't, you remove them. But you can do some data anonymization before you train your AI. So in case of leak, it will be less sensitive. So for instance, what does it mean? It means if you train your AI with your customer database, but you can hide the address. Maybe you can change the name of the street, or you can change the name of the people, or in terms of age, but you can maybe replace, instead of saying this woman is 27 years old, you can put a range like she's between 25 to 30, and you hide her name, and after you train your model with that. So here, even if some information leak, it will be data that has been anonymized, so it's less sensitive. Yes.
Okay, so I think that's also the last questions of today's webinar. So thank you so much to speaker David and Dr. Huy for spending time to share with us very interesting topic about Gen AI. And also thank you so much for all of the participants and all the questions that you shared today. So we are looking forward to welcome all of you again in our future Bow and Arrow TED Talk series. So we'll host it monthly to share with all of you about all of the latest trends in technology. So thank you so much again, and goodbye.
Thank you all.